Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Rainmakers Roundup. I am your host, Mark Iorio, and I have with me today Robbie Sheehan, and Robbie is the regional director of BBSI,
Area
right?
manager is our title.
Area manager?
Yeah.
All right. You corrected me already. That's okay. That's good. Welcome.
Thank you.
Great
Thanks
to
for
have
having
you on the
me.
program.
Appreciate it.
So let's just get this out of the way, like really quick.
Okay.
You're a PEO.
That's right.
And a lot of people do not think highly of PEOs,
Yep.
right? So
Yep.
let's talk about what a PEO does,
Sure.
and then what makes BBSI so different from every other PEO out there.
Absolutely. So the term PEO, Professional Employer Organization, has been around for the better part of 30 years. Mm-hmm. And what makes our industry unique is that we partner with business owners to provide a wide range of services. As an assistant employer, per se, would be a good way to sort of couch what we do. We partner with employers to manage their employees. Mm-hmm. So we help them manage their human capital. So there's a couple of things that really make PEOs unique. We provide workers' compensation insurance typically to the employees on behalf of the business owner. Mm-hmm. A lot of PEOs also provide health insurance. They assist with human resources, that's that human capital management piece, mm-hmm. Risk and safety management, processing payroll. So anything that touches managing an employee, that's where a PEO sort of steps in, partners with the business owner, and then provides those services to them. Okay. So in the early 1990s, there were a number of small PEOs that had started up with this concept, and so some of them struggled and honestly left a black eye on the industry as it started to grow. BBSI is unique. We started as a staffing company in 1951. We've been around forever, mm-hmm. and through a marriage, a merger, and an acquisition, grew into the $7 billion corporation that we are today. That's publicly traded. Wow. What's interesting about BBSI is that we never had a marketing department in those 30 years that we grew. Mm-hmm. It was all through relationships and word of mouth. 70% of our business, is on the West Coast, and then there were pockets of these smaller branches on the East Coast. But we have, really grown because, we're folks that value relationships with our clients, value relationships with referral partners, the folks that refer business to us. Sure. And the reason that we really started to gain steam in the late 90s, early 2000s is because we had a self-insured workers' compensation insurance program. And we were operating in the state of California. And if you know anything about the state of California, everything is 5 times more expensive in California. And so the fact that we had a self-insured workers' compensation insurance program that was very competitive, we grew very, very quickly because folks typically, in the blue-collar space where workers' comp is a big line item for them, and expense, are looking for ways to save money and run a better business and have those HR resources, risk and safety management resources, et cetera. And so really, within the course of 5-10 years, we became a $1 billion corporation overnight.
Wow.
And so it's been interesting to see our journey. So I've been with the company for 6 years. I was recruited into the company, started in sales and worked my way up to take over our Delaware office, and then added New Jersey and then the Northeast territory. And it's really been unique to meet with business owners from across the country that we work with, who really understand, the value of the service that we provide. Sure. We're taking a lot of the headache of running their business, away from them so they can focus on running their business more efficiently. Yep. And that's where PEOs really, come in. But because of, the challenges that, some PEOs had early on as we were starting to develop as an industry, I think that's why, there's folks out there that have that kind of bad taste in their mouth that we're still working to overcome.
Yeah. There's some misconceptions out there. People think that, if you sign up with a PEO, Robbie, that, the PEO owns the employees,
exactly.
Right?
Well, and on that piece, it's important for me to mention how the industry has evolved. So I mentioned we started as a staffing company.
Sure.
And so most PEOs started as a staffing company. They were essentially taking ownership of the employees and then invoicing the business owner for the cost of managing those employees. And the PEO was paying their wages, covering them for insurance, and then that's how the industry really kind of got its start. But what's different about BBSI and many large PEOs is that it's a co-employment relationship. relationship. So business owners retain, and to borrow an insurance term, care, custody, and control of their employees. We're simply taking on the liability for payroll and for insurance. And that's, for BBSI specifically in our client services agreement, that's what differentiates us from most of our competitors. But there are some out there that still do that employee leasing. We don't get into that type of a structure and arrangement.
All right. So what type of clients do you go after? What is the sweet spot for BBSI? What are you looking for?
Well, so as I mentioned earlier, we're unique in that we skew heavily towards blue collar, and because of that workers' compensation insurance piece. Most of our folks are in the construction industry. They're in transportation, general contractors, electricians, plumbers, et cetera. For the past 25, 30 years, that's really what we focused on. Now, I mentioned self-insured for the workers' comp. We became fully insured with Chubb. I think 2 years ago. We had a reinsurance arrangement with Chubb, but now it's a fully insured product that we're offering our clients. So we still, traditionally skew to the blue collar space. But because we just rolled out a benefits program. For the longest time, we did not offer a health insurance program.
Okay.
Most PEOs like Insperity, TriNet, ADP Total Source, that's kind of their bread and butter, is offering benefits to white collar in particular. So we're very unique in that we've always skewed blue collar and now just added this health insurance option. And so we're seeing a lot more white collar opportunities come our way.
Good.
Because of the health insurance program that we just built out with Aetna. And so we stole away our vice president of benefits from one of our competitors, and she built our program from scratch. And it's been really, really neat to see how we've been able to evolve as an organization and embrace this new product line for us.
That's cool. That's really great. That's a nice nice opportunity to branch out.
Yeah.
So take us through a process where you are meeting a new client, prospect, right? And then you onboard them.
Yep.
Right. What do you typically go through?
Sure, absolutely. So 95% of the opportunities that we're presented with, or leads, submissions that we receive, come from our referral partner networks.
Okay.
And so traditionally, it's been P&C insurance brokers that will bring us to the table, specifically because of the workers' compensation insurance piece. And so historically, if insurance agents, they're trusted advisors, they're working with their clients. And they, pick up on different issues that they have, and they're always thinking of solutions, for their clients. So, if somebody's having issues with, claims frequency or claims severity or HR issues or payroll, most of our brokers are keeping us in the back of their minds and listening for those buzzwords so that they can bring, us into those conversations. So typically, we get a lead from an insurance agent. They tell us the story, tell us what's going on to see whether or not BBSI would be a good fit for their clients. We typically have a discovery meeting, so the referral partner brings our team into a meeting with their client, and so it gives us an opportunity to discover more about the business owner and gives them the opportunity to discover more about BBSI.
Right.
And to see whether or not it's a good fit. And we're not a hard sales organization. If it's a good fit, it's a good fit. If it's not, no harm, no foul.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not a good fit now, maybe a good fit later. But we have that honest, just genuine discussion about whether or not we're a good fit for those business owners. And then typically the next step is what we have, what we call a business analysis. So another thing that makes BBSI unique is that instead of having a remote call center, centralized remote call center, we have branches in each of the communities in which we serve. And so when a business owner comes on board with us, they're paired with what we call a business unit.
Okay.
So that business unit has a business partner who's kind of like the account manager, team lead. They typically have a business consulting background because they strategically work with our business owners to work through whatever challenges they might have. Then we have a human resources consultant, risk and safety management consultant, and a payroll specialist. So our business owners get that team. So when we have the discovery meeting, if they want to move forward with us, then they come and have the business analysis meeting with us and the entire team. So it gives them the opportunity to ask the team questions, get to know them, then it gives the team the opportunity to ask them questions and learn more about their business and how we can potentially help.
Is it typically a competitive situation when you're pitching a new prospect? Are they looking at ADP Total Source and Insperity or one of the other competitors, or?
Historically, no, because of the way that we were structured with our referral partner channels from a P&C perspective, we were typically just competing against workers' comp insurance
okay.
and other carriers,
Yeah.
like Donegal, Travelers,
Sure.
some of those carriers. But now that we have health insurance, yes, we're competing with ADP Total Source or TriNet or Insperity for the whole package, not just the services, but for the health insurance piece. And cost is a big factor for most business owners when they're evaluating different options. But what we've seen time and time again since we launched our health insurance program earlier this year, on January 1 is when it went live. Our service is really the differentiator. Anybody can have insurance. The fact that we have Chubb, awesome. The fact that we have Aetna, great. But the fact that we have a team that you get for a competitive price, that's a game changer.
Yeah.
Most folks are used to calling into, call centers, maybe international, and they want somebody in their community.
They want personalized service.
Pick up
Yep,
the phone
exactly.
if there's a payroll issue. Hey, they need to be able to talk to Irene. They need to talk to Cindy.
Yep.
This check we need printed ASAP. And that's typically why we have branches within driving distance,
Yeah.
so that we can drive those checks to them, or we can check in. And our goal is for every discipline to have a one-on-one with the business owner once per quarter.
Sure.
Now, sometimes we engage a lot more than that. Some business owners are like, we're good, so it's really as much or as little as they want with us. And so we customize our approach to every business.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so there, in the 6 years that you've been there have to be a bunch of really proud moments that you've had where, you think to yourself, man, I just hit the pillow at night, man, and what a day. I just helped this organization really turn around, and they were really struggling, and and we were able to really help them.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
So I have a testimonial video, which I'd love if there's a way for us to be able to share that.
Yep.
That I actually had developed when I was in sales in our Maryland location before I moved up to our Delaware and now Northeast location. And there's a gentleman on that video, Chris Eccleston, who's the president and CEO of Delmarva Veteran Builders. Chris's story is great. He was a vet, had served in the United States Navy.
Yep.
And he came out of the military and really wanted to find a way to build a business that put veterans to work. And so he had this vision for Delmarva Veteran Builders of becoming a regional general contractor, and he started with one person, himself. And he linked up with my former boss in our Maryland office and said, hey, I don't know how to build a business. This is the vision. I need help. And so he came on board as a client with one employee. Today he's got well over 100 employees. He's doing $60 million in annual revenue.
Wow.
And he credits a lot of his success to working with BBSI. And so those are the kinds of stories where it's like, we're actually making a difference. Business owners, they don't go into business to be an expert in human resources or payroll, tax compliance, risk and safety management, OSHA. That's not why they go into business. They go into business because they have a vision, they have a dream, and then we're there to help them make that happen. And
That's
so
awesome.
that comes through in this testimonial video that we have.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break. If we can run that, folks, if we can run that commercial production team while we're doing the break, that would be great. But we will be right back after this message, hopefully from BBSI. Don't go away.
So if you're going to be successful in business, I think you got to know what you know and know what you don't know. And that's where BBSI came into play for me. I wanted to serve clients and build buildings.
When you start to imagine like exponential growth of your company and thinking about what's not going to work, often when you're in the everyday, we run 7 days a week, you don't take that time to step back and say, all right, let's look at the future. We need to see if we grow 10 times, what we're doing now is not going to work, and where is it going to fracture?
And so you really have to decide where you need to spend your time in your business. Are you going to spend it pushing paper, trying to figure out whether you're doing everything according to the law, or are you going to be able to focus on what's important, your employees and your customers?
We had a tragic event happen a couple years ago, and BBSI was one of my first phone calls, and they were there for me. They engaged their team very quickly, and so it meant a lot for me as a business owner to know that they had my back, and they were standing right there in the thick of it with me. and to help me navigate something that I had never dealt with before.
But what I would say to someone is if you're thinking along the lines of long-term benefit to the company, allow someone else the opportunity to work with you, like BBSI, to outsource those important functions, but do it in a way that helps you spend more time in your business.
There's an old expression in business that you can't manage what you can't measure. Business performance and business valuation, it's all measured by the numbers. But I've learned that the real lessons and the tough decisions that are made occur behind the numbers. My name is Dave Bookbinder. Join me and my guests as we go behind the numbers to understand what really matters most in business.
I love that we both got an awesome network and saved money doing it.
I know, $25. I love that it's guaranteed for 3 years.
Hey, we're sitting on a sign here.
Switch and get Welcome Unlimited for $25 a line, guaranteed for 3 years. Verizon.
Hello everyone, I'm Mark Iorio. I'm the host of Rainmakers Roundup right here on RVN TV. The show is about looking for people who are in competitive businesses that are doing something different and unique in the world of sales and marketing. Join me right here on Rainmakers Roundup on Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. and then again on Thursday evenings at 6:30 p.m. right here on RVN TV.
Oh, okay. Easy does it.
We switched to Liberty Mutual and saved $652. They customize your car insurance, so you only pay for what you need. With the money we saved, we thought we'd try electric unicycles. Careful, babe. Saving was definitely easier.
Hey, babe, I think I got it. It's actually...
Okay, show off. Oh. Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Joanne, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Market news, experts, the economy, investment topics, and much more. I'm Joanne Morgano, and this is Martin Salzman.
And we're financial advisors.
We'll give you the latest happenings on everything that affects your money.
And have a little fun along the way.
We will.
Join us every Thursday and Friday at 6 p.m. on It's Your Money with Joanne and Martin.
There's an old expression.
Welcome back to Rainmakers Roundup. I am your host, Mark Iorio. Robbie, BBSI. It's great to see you, man. This is a lot of fun.
Mark. I appreciate it.
Robbie Sheehan. So where did the Barrett Business Services come from? Is that the early name when they were first in recruiting?
It's
and
really,
staffing.
It's a really interesting story. So I mentioned.
We only have like another 15 minutes.
I know. I'll trim it up. So I mentioned a marriage, merger, and acquisition. So the company was founded in Baltimore, Maryland in 1951, the Barrett family.
Okay.
And Nancy Barrett inherited the business from her family in the early 70s. And she met a gentleman, Bill Charay, at a staffing conference. They fell in love, got married. He had a business, staffing business in Portland, Oregon. Barry Business Services, oddly enough, was the name of his company.
Wow.
They got married, they kept the Barrett Business Services name, merged the company, moved to the West Coast, and they were off to the races.
Wow.
And like I mentioned earlier, we just grew exponentially.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's a great
and then
great
acquired
story.
other staffing companies and then pivoted to PPO.
Marriage, merger, acquisition. So MMA. That's
yeah.
where the MMA stuff.
MMA, yeah. Yeah, not mixed martial arts. It's marriage.
I got it. I got it.
Yeah.
That's cool. So at the break, we saw that wonderful video that we were talking about, that case study. So that was great. So tell us a little bit about your background and how you ended up coming to BBSI, Robbie.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't a straight line. It was, zigs and zags. So the short story is I got married when I was 19. Worked 3 jobs, put myself through community college, and I got a scholarship to Salisbury University.
Okay.
And then I did my graduate work at the University of Pennsylvania. But I was hired as the lobbyist for Salisbury University and the University System of Maryland to lobby for that institution in the Maryland General Assembly. and I spent time in DC as well for the institution. But was on the administration, given the opportunity to manage our economic development efforts, community relations, and so really started to build relationships regionally and trying to think strategically about how we could help the community, help business owners, and sort of start to connect those dots. And I loved that opportunity.
Sure.
It was an incredible time. Transitioned into nonprofit leadership, and then was actually recruited from there into BBSI, and then just kind of worked my way, to where I am today. But it's been really neat. I've had a great privilege of meeting so many diverse folks from different backgrounds, and it's been a great journey.
Yeah,
it's been a great journey.
That's great. That's a good. That's a good career path. It's different.
Yeah.
But it's a good career path. How do you think a lot of what you did early on in your career prepared you for what you're doing now?
Yeah. I never saw myself ending up here, but it is interesting how every chapter of your life prepares you for the next.
Yeah.
And so at Salisbury, when I was, working in the legislature, I had the opportunity to interact with folks, the governor, our United States senators, congressmen, legislators at the state level. And everyday business owners, who are just trying to make ends meet.
Yeah, sure.
And so you understand things from a high level perspective, and boots on the ground, the challenges that they're facing, and then pivoting into nonprofit and understand. And it was a nonprofit ministry that I was working with, and trying to work with folks who are disenfranchised and low income. You really get to see different perspectives of the world.
Yeah.
And so now coming into this role and seeing how we can help from the business owner perspective, making sure that employees are empowered, I feel like it's really given me a well-rounded perspective of the world and different challenges that folks have. And so that's where we, as BBSI, are really advocating, to provide the best possible environment for a business to be successful and to provide for their employees and manage that human capital that I mentioned early on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
What
been
would you
great.
do differently? Would you change anything? I mean, if you had to do it all over again, would you change anything that you did in your career
Well,
during your career
it's
path?
it's interesting. When I was working in leadership of that ministry, we started to struggle financially. Our senior leadership had made some poor decisions. And of course, the challenges the world was facing, money became, tight.
Sure.
And, I really questioned my decision to leave this really successful career. I felt led to go into that situation, with the nonprofit ministry. But it caused me to really question everything about myself and the decision that I made. And I chalked it up to a failure. I thought it was a total failure that I made that decision. But now looking back, I'm so much stronger because I went through that personally. And I've been through some other personal challenges too, just, with the loss of my father and, my grandmother and my aunt all within, a couple months' time. It was just a really, hard time.
Yeah.
But those, challenges that you experience in life, that's what makes you who you are.
Right, makes you
And
stronger.
so I'm grateful for the challenges, that I went through,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't change anything.
Good.
I wouldn't
Good to-
change anything.
good to
at
hear
all.
that.
No regrets.
So with young folks coming into this business, and into BBSI, understanding what a PEO is, how you help organizations like the gentleman you were talking about, and we saw the testimonial, Chris. What advice do you give people when they first come into work for BBSI?
For our company, biggest piece of advice is be genuine, be authentic. You have to care about people. You want to, it's interesting. BBSI, I joke. I went into ministry to make up for the 7 years I was in politics, and then, going into BBSI, it was all about helping people. That's my passion, and I feel like I'm helping people. I feel like BBSI is, in effect, a ministry to business owners. I can't tell you the number of late night phone calls I've gotten from clients because, of issues they're having with their employees, or they're about to lose this employee. How do I retain them? Or, this situation happened. We've had some of our clients experience, the death of, their employees, by suicide. And so, standing with business owners to really kind of coach them and be, sounding board for them.
Yeah.
That's the magic of what we do that's so different from our competitors is that they really begin to trust us. I forgot to mention how some of our employees, the average tenure in my office is 9 years. We have low employee turnover.
Right.
I've got a human resources consultant that's been with us 15 years.
Wow.
And she knows our clients' kids, goes to their Christmas parties. She's the first person they call, when there's an HR issue. And so as I talk to folks who are coming on board, and we're making the theme of this year for BBSI is expansion. And we're making our CEO, who's actually from this area, by the way, which is really kind of cool. He'd be a great person to interview at some point in time. He went to Rowan University, but now he's the CEO of a publicly traded company. Yeah. It's really unique, how we're able to recruit people into the business and then turn them loose in these different markets. But my number one advice is be yourself, care about people, and that's the magic of what we do.
It's interesting you say that because, as I'm thinking about that and you're interviewing people and they're across the table from you, you're sitting side by side with them and you say, be authentic, be genuine, be yourself. How do you ferret that out? How do you understand that they're saying that, oh, I'm authentic, Robbie. Yeah. I'm really authentic. Right. I'm really genuine and caring about other people. How do you get that out of them, man?
You have to have a good BS meter,
Yeah.
It's interesting. So we typically take folks through 5 different interviews.
Okay.
So there's not just that one interview. There are multiple layers to make sure that the right person, that we're hiring the right person. And our CEO likes to say that we will hire for the person, not the market. And so as we identified target markets across the country that we wanted to go into, it was only through identifying, and going through the interview process of whether we thought, hey, this is the right person for this market. And there has to be sign off from multiple people, I think what's cool about us is, we want folks who, don't take themselves too seriously. I think people are tired of, the sales, strategy, the overcoming objectives and, trying to, push, our product on someone. That's just not how we roll.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not how, I feel like I was able to get to my spot in the company because I don't have a sales background.
Right.
I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
Of course I want to be successful, but I want to do right by the business owner. And so I think we really work hard to try to look for that when we screen candidates as they come in and make sure that multiple folks have that same feeling.
What's the expansion look like? When you talk about expansion and growing, what does that look like?
So we have developed a new strategy. So typically what we used to do is we would build out an office in a new territory, lose money on that market until we were able to catch up and break even and then be profitable by paying for the rent and the staff to be able to cover that. But what we've done is pivoted to a market development manager model. So where we're actually looking for those market development managers in the target territories, those markets, making sure that they're the right fit, and then we're supporting them remotely with a dedicated team. So it's still that dedicated team model. It's still the same 4 people, but they're supporting them virtually until we get to the point where we're like, okay, we need to hire a human resources consultant, a payroll specialist, a risk manager for that territory.
Yep.
So it's still the same end result. And we're seeing the same thing here in New Jersey. I mean, Tammy Elford, who we've brought on board, Jim Jeffers, who we've brought on board, who are covering the New Jersey market, boots on the ground for us. They're starting to develop momentum. Only 3 months in, it's really exciting because I think our story is resonating in this marketplace. Yeah. That we already know, hey, 6 months from now, we're going to have to build out a location here to service the New Jersey market, and we're going to continue to do that up the northeast.
That's great.
So.
It's been terrific. We're coming down to the end. One last question. Where do you find your inspiration? Where does that come from?
I'm really drawn to any story of overcoming adversity. And it's funny, I had the opportunity about a month or so ago to give the commencement address at my alma mater. And just an incredible honor to be able to be invited back, 15 years after I graduated. And I actually shared the story of Cliff Young, and I hadn't come across this story previously before I started to prepare for that speech. But Cliff Young was a 61-year-old potato farmer from Australia who entered the inaugural ultra marathon from Sydney to Melbourne.
Wow.
And had never run an ultra marathon before in his life. And he showed up at the starting line, decided to leave his dentures at home that day, and so his teeth wouldn't rattle as he was running, but had this thought that he was going to run this race and he was going to win. True story, look it up. And there were these.
No, I'm taken back by the denture thing, man.
Because it's such.
He's
such
only
a
61
visual.
years old.
It's such a visual. And then if you actually catch it on YouTube to see the interview at the end when he wins, I mean it's pretty hysterical the way that he's talking. But there were athletes that came from around the world to compete in that race,
wow.
And his grit and determination ultimately pushed him through. He didn't sleep, like the other guys. He was wearing galoshes of all things, because he thought it was going to rain. And when they interviewed him at the end, he said, "How did you win this race?" He said, "I run, and when I can't run anymore, I walk." And then I run again, and I just keep pushing forward. And he won.
Wow.
And he shattered every world record at the time in 1983. Look it up. So I get great inspiration from stories like those. I mean, Oprah, Obama, I mentioned Ed Sheeran earlier. Any story of overcoming adversity and perseverance, that's what really excites me, because I can resonate with that.
Yeah.
So,
Great, Robbie.
Mark, it was
Thanks,
great to
man.
meet you. Thanks
Appreciate
for your
it.
time.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you.
Look into that camera right there. Tell
right.
everyone how to get in touch with BBSI and you.
So you can reach out to us. We'll provide our contact information, robbie.sheehan@bbsi.com, or you can reach out to Tammy Elfert. We'll provide her address as well, her email address, or Jim Jeffers. We're going to make a significant push into this market. You'll be seeing a lot more of us, and really look forward to connecting with you. So thanks, Mark.
Great stuff.
Appreciate the
My
opportunity.
pleasure, Robbie.
Yep,
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, folks, that is a wrap. Thanks for joining us, and check out BBSI and check out that story about Cliff Young, man. That was cool. We'll see you next week. Have a wonderful week, everyone.